Ladies and gentlemen, before we get to this week's entry, this has to be done. I have to begin with a quick moment of silence for the 5 individuals that were killed in the shooting at the military recruiting station in Chattanooga, Tennessee. 4 of them were United States Marines: Squire K. Skip Wells, Carson Holmquist, David Wyatt, and Thomas Sullivan. And the 5th one died just Saturday morning of injuries sustained during the shooting. Randall Smith was a sailor in the United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask that you pause for a brief moment of silence as we honor these 5 individuals. Gone, but never forgotten. Alright, now we got that out of the way. I am going to do the entry that I had planned on doing up until yesterday. People have suggested that I open this special entry with some profound words of thought. Something bold, epic, sentimental. I've given it much thought. The only thing that I can find fitting to say to begin this entry: begin Captain's Log. Stardate 150719. How are you all doing this evening? I'm doing awesome. As always, Captain Big McLarge Huge, recording the entry. This week's unofficial sponsor is, this week's entry is brought to you by the folks over at Wally's Aluminum Shaping Process. Find them on Facebook, www.facebook.com/WASPAA. Folks, this man will hook you up. Make you a Denver Broncos logo. He'll make you an Indianapolis Colts logo. Might even make you a Federation, Klingon Empire, Romulan Empire, you name it. If he can lay it out, he will make it for you. Look him up, my friend Wally Fortier at Wally's Aluminum Shaping Process. That being said, before we go any further, this week's beverage: tea, Earl Grey, hot. Cheers to you all. Kapla! They would say in the Klingon Empire. I just realized what I did. I apologize for that. I apologize. I did not mean to give the Italian salute to anybody. I apologize to anybody that I offended with that. Alright. This is the first time this has happened on Prosper. I only have 2 birthdays for the week. 2 birthdays for the week. Let's get it going. The first birthday from the 16th, Renee Links. Now, she is an administrator over at the group Stay Classy Chivers. Look them up on Facebook. Pay it forward. That's all I got to say. Renee, my dear, I hope you had a happy birthday. I hope things went well for you. I hope they continue to go well for you. And I drink to you. And the last birthday for the week, the other birthday for the week, I guess I should say, goes to a dear friend of mine that I went to a leadership class with in Germany, my friend Armando Galvan. Armando, how's it going? How's life treating you? I hope things are going well for you. I hope things are going great. I hope they're awesome. I hope you're living it up. Keep on doing what you're doing. And hey, my friend, I hope to have a cold one with you someday. Cheers to you. All right, the quick birthdays, knocked them out. All right, now these next 3 people I'm going to recognize are people that I know, that I am friends with here on good old Facebook, that have recently earned a job promotion. I'm just gonna go through them one at a time. I work with him here in Germany. Gee, Gee, mini Christmas. What'd they put in that fireball? I work with him here at Earth Station Okinawa. I'm talking about my friend Michael Wyant. Mike, to you, sir, it's deserved. Congratulations to you. You've earned this one. Live it up. Do well. I know you will. Second person got a job promotion this week. A friend of mine, I know. I'm going to be working with a buddy of mine, Josh Baker there. Buzz Gilson. Buzz, my friend, congratulations to you. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Hope things are going well for you. I hope you enjoyed your going away the other night. And hey, looking forward to seeing you again, my friend. And the final greeting for a job promotion. I knew this gal when I was living in Germany. Sheila Najea. Sheila, my friend, congratulations to you. I'm going to be honest. I didn't expect you to make a promotion this year. I honestly thought it was too early. But hey, it happens. Congratulations to you, my dear friend. I hope you're doing well. All right, now, these next two are actually getting ready to move to Germany in the area that I used to live at. I probably butcher it every time. Please let me know. Hit me up down here or hit me up privately. Let me know how to pronounce it. Leah Simone and Ken Daniels moving to Germany. I actually lived in that area. If you got any questions, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to help you two out. I wish you luck on your next 3 to 4 years living in Germany. Live it up. I miss it. I think I want to go back. All right. Next greeting, friend of mine that I just made here not too long ago, James Johnson. Can I call you Jim? Yeah. No, JJ. That's right. JJ, my friend, how are you doing? I hope you're staying dry right now. I can hear the rain outside the window. I hope you're doing well. Hope things are working out well for you. Let's have a cold one sometime. And the final additional greeting for this entry. I knew her in Germany, a dear friend of mine, Bernie Princess Consuela Kelly. Your Highness, how's life treating you right now? I hope you're doing well. I hope things are going all right for you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again someday. Let's drink. Greetings. Additional greetings. Extended. Let me knock that one out real quick. All right. This week in Trek history, we only had one significant event happen in Trek history. Well, excuse me, two. I mentioned Patrick Stewart last week. Hey, I prepped it like I did my first show. You know what? It happens. But hey, Patrick Stewart turned 75 on the 13th on Monday? Monday. And today, actually, actor Benedict Cumberbatch, or Cucumber Patch, or whatever you want to call him, he played John Harrison, a.k.a. Khan Noonien Singh, in J.J. Abrams' turd Star Trek Into Darkness. It had nothing to do with him. It was just, you know what? Don't get me started. I'm detracting. Mr. Cumberbatch, happy birthday to you. Turned 39 today. All right, now, last week, StarTrek.com had a poll, and I'm going to read the results to you. Leonard McCoy, Beverly Crusher, Julian Bashir, The Doctor, and Phlox. Those were the reply options for fans to choose from in our latest StarTrek.com poll. And the question was, who is your favorite Star Trek Doctor? Nearly 20,000 fans voted, and here are the results. Capturing victory with this poll with 42%, Leonard McCoy. Not too far behind him with 30% of the votes was the Doctor. Behind him at 13%, Beverly Crusher. 9% of fans voted for Julian Bashir, while a measly 6 voted for Phlox. How did your pick do? Honestly, mine got second. Mine got second. But hey, this week's Trek poll, it is a poll about villains. Which villain would win in a fight? Go to StarTrek.com, cast your vote now if the poll is still up. If not, cast your vote in next week's poll. Alright, that being said, wow, this one's going to blow by quick. Let's move into the databanks. This week's entry, Journey to Babel. As the Enterprise comes under attack on the way to a diplomatic conference on Babel, one of the alien dignitaries is murdered, and Spock's estranged father, Sarek, is the prime suspect. But he is also deathly ill, and only Spock can save him. Ooh, trouble is afoot on the Enterprise on this one. This is a good story. This was a good episode. And I'm going to tell you, there's something in here I'm going to make a note of later. DC Fontana's writing of this episode was inspired by several references to Spock's parents that had been littered throughout the previous installments of the original Star Trek series. Fontana later admitted Journey to Babel grew out of previous writings. There were all these little things that were running around in my brain. One of the past references, dialogue said in This Side in Paradise, which Fontana had previously worked on as a writer, was especially influential to the story. She further explained, the idea really came out of the line towards the end of This Side of Paradise, where Spock says, my mother was a school teacher. My father was an ambassador. Fontana presented Gene Roddenberry with the idea of featuring Spock's parents in an episode. She reflected, I was kicking around stories and I finally went into Gene and said, I want to do something about Spock's mother and father. Let's explore that relationship. I said to Gene, we've talked about him, now let's show him. She continued, he told me to do it and I came up with Journey to Babel. Another influence on the episode was an extreme interest in exploring Spock's parentage. We needed to see the family background that Spock was raised in. What's going on with him truly personally. Excuse me. I seem to have lost my spot. There we go. Fontana related. Okay, she related that. Furthermore, she was interested in not only who Spock's parents were, but also how they shaped his identity. Makes sense. It flowed. After Fontana chose to feature Spock's family in the episode, she began to formulate some of their backstory. She said, I made some notes about what was going on with them. She elaborated, I sat down and created two characters, emphasizing their triangular relationship, the rift between Sarek and Spock, with Amanda positioned in the middle. It was Fontana who named Spock's mother Amanda. She chose that name because it means worthy of being loved. I didn't know that. Fontana was interested in making the aforementioned rift multidimensional. She remembered one of the points I wanted to make believable in Babel was that both Spock and Sarek were right, as their own convictions applied to themselves, and wrong, as their convictions applied to each other. The interpersonal friction, despite being between a full-blooded Vulcan and his half-Vulcan son, enabled Fontana to somewhat humanize the story. She observed, it was really about the generation gap, which can either be a wall or, something warm and lovely. Excuse me. And in this case, it was a wall, as far as between the father and son. Fontana also reckoned that the family dynamic of having the hybrid Spock biologically between the extremities of the two others was bound to create a lot of character problems. Roddenberry approved of taking the opportunity to center the episode on the conflict between Spock and Sarek. Multifaceted character dynamics within the family propelled Fontana to write the story and script. This was the first mention in Journey to Babel that Spock and his father had been estranged. Well, why? She wondered. What's with his mother? What feelings does she have in this particular triangle between husband and son? And what kind of a woman was she to marry a Vulcan, go to Vulcan, live like a Vulcan, raise a half-Vulcan son? What was that all about? The storyline concerning intrigue between the various ambassadors on board the Enterprise was subsequently added to the plot. With an indirect reference to the narratives about Spock's parents, Fontana stated, I wrapped it up in a mystery. and in an adventure. The multiple minor differences between the episode's first draft and its ultimate embodiment include a brief discussion between Amanda and Spock, in which she tried to persuade him to talk to his father. Excuse me. In the first draft script, we learned that Sarek and Amanda had been married for 38 years. That Sarek had been an astrophysicist before embarking on a career in politics, and that his father, Spock's grandfather, was Sheila, a famous Vulcan ambassador. In an early draft, Fontana planned for a Vulcan city to be shown in the episode's teaser, when Spock meets up with his parents. She explained the cost of doing a matte or painting of the city was prohibitive, hence the shot was removed. Although she was not concerned while writing this episode about how costly producing the story's variety of aliens would be, since she was aware that because the installment is set entirely aboard the Enterprise with no extra planetary or ship sets needed, the finances could be spent wholly on the costumes and makeup. In the original script, Sarek and his company were beamed aboard the Enterprise, but after going over budget with the expensive Vulcan, Andorian, and Tellarite makeups, as well as the other outer space footage of the Orion ship, there was no money left for the transporter effect. The Vulcan's transportation to the ship by shuttlecraft was decided upon because it could be done completely via the use of stock footage from the Galileo 7. In her further opinion, not much was altered between how she envisioned this episode and the way in which it turned out. It was shot pretty much as I wrote it, only a couple of things were changed, she related. One scene was added in which Amanda talks to Kirk about Sarek's relationship with his son. It seemed to me that would have been inappropriate and that she would have not blurted out all this information to Kirk. I did not have anything to do with that scene, and I think Gene rewrote it. Does it surprise you any? No. Actor John Wheeler, in character as Gav, had so much trouble seeing through the prosthetics over his eyes that he was forced to raise his head to see his castmates. This added to the early mythos that all Tellarites were arrogant, as well as belligerent and aggressive. I see it. It makes sense too. Have you seen that Tellarite makeup? If you haven't seen it yet, check out this episode. Then you'll understand what I meant by that. William Blackburn, in an unused makeup scheme for the Tellarites from a makeup test, can be seen in the end credits of The Deadly Years and A Private Little War. Andorian makeup was very expensive. 3 different sets had to be created for William O'Connell, for Reggie Nowder, and for Jim Shepard, the stuntman doubling for O'Connell. Many of the costumes worn by extras in the hallway and reception room scenes were recycled from the several first season episodes, including the outfits worn by Galactic High Commissioner Ferris in the Galileo 7 and by Lazarus in the Alternative Factor. A female extra can be seen wearing a faux fur dress worn by Lenore Caridian in The Conscience of the King, complete with other recycled costume pieces. Another female alien is wearing a real Shaw's civilian dress from Court Martial, and a third one is wearing a costume left over from Wolf in the Fold. Scotty's dress uniform was also reused on an extra playing a Starfleet delegate. The completed episode was very well liked by NBC. The network urged the production staff to finish post-production of Journey to Babel quickly, so that it could be scheduled for the earliest possible air date. As a result, the visual effects shots of the Orion scout ship were not ready when the trailer for the episode was assembled. Hence, the trailer features a different, much more primitive effect depicting the vessel. For the same reason, the Enterprise fires purple phasers in the trailer, while phasers are blue in color in the episode itself. The matte shot of Uhura appearing on the screen in engineering is one of the smallest mattes ever used for the series, until the view discs in All Our Yesterdays. For some unknown reason, during the fight between Thelev and Kirk, just after Kirk's failed wall kick, the comical sound effect of a coconut conch can be heard. This may have been to indicate Thelev's head hitting the floor. In the remastered edition of this episode, the effect has been removed from the fight. The noise of the coded message sent by Thelev is also used in Miri. The Orion ship was recycled as the missile in Patterns of Force. The Tantalus field controls used in Mirror Mirror can be seen behind McCoy while Amanda is inquiring about Sarek's condition. The couch from Kirk's Starbase 11 quarters and court-martial can also be seen in McCoy's office. The Tellarite ambassador is found dead on Deck 11, Section A3, which, according to Matt Jeffrey's original internal schematics, is at the bottom of the main intercostal dorsal. The main interconnecting dorsal. The slanting wall tube that the Tellarite is found sprawled in is also identified as Engineering Circuit Bay by the wall plaque in another episode. Leonard Nimoy regarded this episode's depiction of Spock's relationship with his parents as a very worthy allegory for the difficulty many teenagers encounter with their own parents. I see it. Considering Vulcans live to be about 200 years old, Spock could be a teenager at this time. I see it. It makes sense. Mark Lenard was cast as Sarek for this episode. When Mark Lenard was cast as Sarek for this episode, he was 43, only 7 years older than Leonard Nimoy. When she was offered the part of Amanda, Jane Wyatt had never heard of Star Trek before and thought about it as a comedy. She expected to have a week of laughing on the set, but upon arriving for her first day of working on the episode, she was very surprised by how serious everyone was taking the show. As a tribute to her long and distinguished career, Wyatt is called Miss Jane Wyatt in the episode's closing credits. D.C. Fontana was uninvolved in the casting of Mark Lenard as Sarek and Jane Wyatt as Amanda, but ultimately approved of the selections of the two guest stars. They were brilliant together. The two of them looked superb, Fontana enthused. They were just wonderful, and they carried it off so well, even the volcanisms that we had put in it. Leonard Nimoy once recalled that Mark Lenard and Jane Wyatt came to him for advice on Vulcan culture. Nimoy replied that he had come to believe Vulcans placed great importance on their hands and hand gestures, and suggested Lenard and Wyatt find a way to demonstrate that when on screen. The actors then created the finger-touching gesture seen in this episode. James Doohan and George Takei do not appear in this episode, although Scotty is mentioned. Frank Da Vinci plays one of Sarek's aides. Russ Peake, who plays the other aide, also appeared as Mirror Spock's Vulcan bodyguard in Mirror Mirror. This episode introduces the Andorians and Tellarites. Later episodes establish that, along with humans and Vulcans, they are two of the 4 founding members of the Federation. That's what I was going to point out later. I'm so glad that Memory Alpha caught that one. I really am. The gathering of aliens in this episode is of notable continuity. D.C. Fontana stated about the installment. It was the first show we had done with a number of different aliens all together in one place with some goal in mind. This episode is the first mention of a pet Selot that Spock owned in his youth. This animal appears in D.C. Fontana's animated episode Yesteryear, which also establishes the creature's name as Ichaya. Schross' suggestion that Spock forget logic and consider motivations of passion when investigating Gav's murder, and Kirk's stabbing foreshadowed the Vulcan-Andorian conflict seen a century earlier throughout Star Trek Enterprise. The conclusion of this episode involves a rare breaking of the fourth wall. McCoy was looking slightly to the right of the screen and appeared to be speaking to Amanda in Nurse Chapel when he expressed his delight at finally having the last word. However, a more direct breaking of the fourth wall occurred in The Changeling, as Uhura, attempting to read the word blue on her view screen, turns directly to the camera and the viewers as she mispronounces the word as bluey. Spock's decision to join Starfleet rather than attend the Vulcan Science Academy is seen in the film Star Trek, wherein he makes the choice after being told by the head of the Vulcan Science Academy admissions board that his academic accomplishments were all the more impressive given the disadvantage of having a human parent. While this occurs after Nero's incursion, changes the timeline, screenwriter Roberto Orci stated that this took place in the prime timeline as well, which makes sense. The only impact Nero's incursion had at that time all centered on James T. Kirk, which that makes sense. Tellarites were seen in 2 season 3 episodes, with greatly modified masks, The Lights of Zatar and Whom Gods Destroy. Manny Cotto originally pushed to have the short, gold-skinned species from this episode attend the Coalition of Planets conference in Terra Prime, but it proved too expensive. He named the species Ithonite, a name that is mentioned in Azadi Prime by time traveler Daniels. Spock reports that he gets readings of titanium in the Orion ship's hull. It is not clear if the entire hull is made of it or parts of it. Tritanium is the material that the Enterprise's hull is made of, as Gene Roddenberry says in his novelization of the motion picture. It is not clear whether it is the same material as tritanium, which is reported to be 20 times as hard as diamond in Obsession. Leonard Nimoy enthused, Mark had a real sense of dignity and the authority that the character needed. Jane was very human, which is exactly what that character needed. They were terrific together. Director Joseph Pevney was selective with his opinion of how successful this episode was, though he was especially impressed by makeup supervisor Fred Phillips' work on the outing. That was a good show in certain ways, remarked Pevney. I thought the greatest contributor to it was the makeup artist. He did a fabulous job of bringing alien humanoids on board. While Spock was often deluged with fan mail on a regular basis, this trend was outdone following the broadcast of Journey to Babel. Indeed, the fan mail poured into the studio at an incredible rate, only this time addressed to Mark Leonard for 2 weeks. Topped those coming in for Nimoy. Excuse me. The reference book, Star Trek 101, by Terry J. Erdman and Paula M. Block, counts this episode as one of the 10 essential episodes from Star Trek the original series. I can believe it. In the unofficial reference book, Trek Navigator, the ultimate guide to the entire Trek saga, both Mark A. Altman and Edward Gross, the book's co-writers, individually rate this episode 4 out of 5 stars, defined as classic. The unauthorized reference book, Beyond the Final Frontier, comments on this outing, stating an episode that is rich with color and texture. The relationship between Spock and Sarek is done extremely well, with Amanda's concern and disappointment adding an absent emotional context that makes the father-son relationship seem more tragic. In the souvenir magazine, Star Trek 30 Years, the magazine's makers included this installment as one of their all-time favorite episodes from the original Star Trek series, and described it as an enjoyable romp with a heartfelt ending. They went on to say, Mark Leonard is appropriately stiff as Spock's Vulcan father, Sarek, and Jane Wyatt is endearing as his Earth-born mother, Amanda. In the magazine Cinefantastique, writer Sue Uram rated this episode 4 out of 4 stars and commented, Journey to Babel marks a high point in D.C. Fontana's remarkable association with Star Trek. Clearly, Journey to Babel is important from the Federation historical perspective of attempting to form a United Nations sort of body. However, it is the inner conflict of Mr. Spock with his father and the remarkable insights we are given to his unhappy childhood which make this show unique. Jane Wyatt and Mark Leonard put in sterling performances as Spock's parents. It almost breaks my heart when Amanda, loving her husband and son, must use the ultimate emotion to force Spock to face his duty, that of guilt. The same issue of Cinefantastique also included the installment among Trek's top 10. And folks, that is all I have for that one. Devoid of life, the brain cells the average Sequest fan. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining me this week. With that being said, it is time to make like the Enterprise and warp out. So everyone take care, have an awesome night or day, Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, name it after me. Don't drink and drive because you might spill your drink. But more importantly, you might kill yourself or somebody else. And drinking and driving is dumber than being a Sequest fan. And what's worse than that is rooting for cheating bastards like Tom. Giselle won't let me go to the Pro Bowl, and I can't throw the ball with all that air in it. Brady, men slapping women, racism, animal abuse, fake friends, people who welch on bets, or anyone who is a member of, supports, or defends the Westboro Baptist Church, who tried to picket Leonard Nimoy's funeral but could not find it. Things like that are highly illogical, and I will not make time for them. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I thank you for having me into your homes, on your computers, your phones, your tablets, however you watch me. And as always, live long and prosper.